Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, and we are the UK's only TV programme that's dedicated to your mental health, well-being and success. Now today we're delving into an extremely important and often devastating issue, that is post-traumatic stress disorder in soldiers and veterans. Here to share his experiences with me today is Army veteran Mark Taylor, otherwise known as the Hero Handyman, who saw tours of Kosovo, Northern Ireland and Iraq before attempting to commit suicide. With the help of charities dedicated to supporting soldiers with PTSD, Mark and so many other soldiers have been able to recover and reintegrate themselves back into civilian life. I'll also be hearing the professional opinion of our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, and our nutritionist this week, Severine Menem, will be showing us the many incredible ways that nutrition can assist with therapy and even help overcome trauma. We'll also be seeing how Pax Brown got on when he visited Bristol, and also we have a video courtesy of the Mental Health channel who show how virtual reality can actually help with PTSD. Now it's important to note at this point that PTSD doesn't affect every veteran soldier. According to the mental health charity Combat Stress, the majority of armed force personnel deployed do not experience lasting mental wounds as a result of their service, whilst 1 in 5 veterans will likely suffer from a common mental illness such as depression, anxiety or substance abuse. That being said, 1 in 25 veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars are likely to develop PTSD, with symptoms generally being much more complex than in the general public. According to research undertaken by The Independent, payouts to UK veterans has increased by 329% since 2010, leading mental health professionals to believe that we are only still seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to those traumatised by events in Afghanistan and Iraq. But as always, it's vitally important to remember that there is hope, as we will see through Mark and Mark's story later on. And there are, of course, plenty of charities and helplines and other services that are dedicated to helping relieve the symptoms of PTSD. Now, before I get the professional opinion of Dr. Audrey Tang, let's take a quick look at what some of you have been saying about the issue. The Manzanita Ranch suggests horses as therapy for PTSD. They say PTSD plus horses equals healing. So seeking veterans to spend time with the horses who provide the therapy. Andrew says, great to read about the great work in the UK with an art therapy program for veterans with PTSD. Surush says 70% of Iraqi kids suffer from PTSD, but whose mental health gets sympathy and media coverage? American soldiers coming home to their kids. That's a different point of view there. Amy says, it was an honour to meet this really big puppy today. He's a good boy and he helps soldiers with PTSD by keeping them company. Megan says soldiers with PTSD are more likely to be divorced, be a single parent or become homeless. Lisa says, for the soldiers who protect our freedom and the world, they, the brave, who are then attacked by a different enemy, PTSD. Well, seeing as this is such an important issue, it's only right that we get the opinion of our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang.
Hi Chrissy, thank you for having me. Post-traumatic stress disorder is often seen in people who have undergone a very traumatic experience. It was first diagnosed in war veterans, soldiers who came back from fighting, and also in people who were in the area at the time. So whether they were civilians caught in the crossfire, medical personnel, or anyone who was helping out on the scene, they too can suffer from the experiences that they've been through. However, post-traumatic stress disorder has also been extended to cover people who maybe have undergone rape or have suffered childhood abuse, or even experienced the sudden death of a loved one, something that is very traumatic, very abrupt within your lifespan that can cause PTSD. Some of the symptoms that are common to PTSD sufferers is the reliving of that event through nightmares, night terrors, avoidance of any possible trigger to that event, including people who may have been involved or been around at that particular time. You may also have trouble sleeping. You may have suffer from uncontrollable shaking sometimes, panic attacks, and this can also lead to feelings of depression and hopelessness or high anxiety, because it may draw you away from society because you may worry that you're going to have an attack. In young children as well, extra symptoms can present. They may lose skills that they previously learned, such as toilet training skills, or alternatively they may suffer from separation anxiety and not want to be apart from the parent for very long. They may also have night terrors, they may be bedwetting. It may be worth with young children as well to look at their drawings, look at their writing, look at how they're expressing themselves through play, because sometimes those are other ways in which we may begin to see that somebody has undergone a very traumatic event. Trauma may be defined as an event or something that happens to you which leaves you feeling completely overwhelmed. It leaves you powerless, and that's the key to trauma. It can be unexpected, and it has a huge detrimental effect on our emotional well-being, often because we couldn't predict it, and often because we just don't have the strategies or the skills to be able to cope with it. The whole problem with post-traumatic stress disorder is that people can then start feeling very guilty and start blaming themselves, and this is part of our bodies and our minds trying to cope and make sense of the event that has occurred. The whole thing about PTSD is that you don't actually need to be part of the situation in order to experience it. Even if you've witnessed it from afar, it can still be traumatic for you and can resonate as a traumatic memory. The reason why it's possible to experience PTSD without necessarily realizing it is because the psychoanalytic school of thought will have us repress memories that we don't want to deal with. In order to protect our well-being, we sometimes try and forget all of those things that we just don't want to think about. We try and block them from our memory, but because that experience is still part of who we are, it sometimes surfaces. And so if you find yourself feeling very anxious or suffering from any of the symptoms that I've previously discussed, it may be worth seeking help, because it might well be a memory that has been blocked somewhere in our unconscious that we do need to work through. It is possible for someone to experience delayed onset PTSD. In other words, the traumatic experience has happened, but the symptoms don't appear until 6 months or longer after that particular event. If these symptoms, because they happen so far away, aren't linked and that person just thinks, oh, I'm just having a bad time and not dealing with it, it is possible that they can get worse. Like all things, if we leave it too late, it can escalate and escalate, especially since if we are having panic attacks, we may then worry about having those panic attacks, and that in itself can send us into isolation, depression, feelings of hopelessness, and so on. It's very important, if we are experiencing high levels of anxiety, to say something about it. However, a little bit of a word of warning, there are specialist trauma psychologists out there, and they are experienced in dealing with traumas. Tips for loved ones: if you do suspect someone is suffering from PTSD, try not to go straight in for the big event and force them to talk about something, because if they're not ready to face it and you're not able to deal with it when they discuss it, it can make things worse. So it is important to seek out help that can understand how to deal delicately with this particular situation. Other problems, if PTSD keeps on going undiagnosed, is that we may resort to avoidance mechanisms such as drug abuse or substance abuse, in order to forget that particular experience. And of course we know drugs and alcohol can be very good at helping us do that. So please do seek professional help, and there are trauma specialists out there. But if you are trying to support somebody, look after your own mental health yourself, and also do not force them to talk about it. Let them lead on that.
Thank you very much to Dr. Audrey Tang. Well, after the break, I'll be hearing the incredible story of Army veteran Mark Taylor. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the TV program that looks after your mental health, well-being and success. Well, today we're looking into an extremely powerful and emotive issue that is post-traumatic stress disorder in soldiers and veterans. So far, we've heard some of the statistics coming out of the UK, such as 4% of soldiers in the Afghanistan and Iraq wars being affected by PTSD. And I'm delighted to be joined by the wonderful Mark Taylor, who's been through so much and is here to share his story with us today. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Chrissy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
No, I'm fine, thank you, yes.
It's so lovely to have you on the programme today.
My
because
pleasure.
this is a very, I would say, personal thing to speak about, because you have been through so much in your life, and there was a time when things got so bad, which we'll get to in just a second.
that's fine, yeah.
But tell us first of all about your experience as being a soldier. What was that like?
Well, so it was a 25-year career, which came to a crashing end. And that was just due to 10 years of operational duty, stemming from, well, even just joining the army is traumatic enough. And then Northern Ireland, Kosovo, Iraq tours, and the culmination of all of that together, it does take a toll. Yeah, absolutely.
What was it that was getting to you the most? What was it that you were seeing or you were experiencing that was really difficult to deal with? And how were you trying to deal with it at the time when it was happening?
Well, as I say, post-traumatic stress disorder there's two main sort of cases. There's an incident, so a road traffic accident or a traumatic incident.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, the soldiers, especially veterans, are dealing with a culmination of trauma, and then the roller coaster ride back into civilian street, and then back up again, and trauma, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So really, for me, was the 2004 Iraq tour. And 2004 in Iraq for British soldiers was, we were back into war fighting, which was, traumatic in itself. So for me, I was doing my job. But because of the trauma and the pressures of Northern Ireland, Kosovo, 10 years of service, then when you hit this major 6 weeks of war fighting and seeing, not only injuries, but, a death of soldiers as well and civilians, but also the sheer stress and pressure that you're under for, just day-to-day existence when you're war fighting.
Did you feel unprepared? Like, could there have been something done that would have kind of prepared you for the kind of things that you experienced, or would you say that no amount of preparation would be able to?
Yes, you are well trained. We're the best army in the world, without a shadow of a doubt, and that's well known. And we are well trained, and you do train. So really, a sort of 6-month tour, it lasts for 18 months. So you're training for a year all the way through that. Into that incident. But what we found is that. And what other veterans through all other conflicts have found is the fact is that you can't train for it. You can't train for it. They do their best, and it's getting better. They're introducing amputees as battlefield casualties. Obviously they've lost their limbs already. And they lots of movie makeup and so on and so forth. But it's not real. It's not real. But when it happens for real, then it does have an impact.
How did you cope at the time?
Training and brotherhood.
Would you say, okay?
So you're trained. I was in a position of command, and therefore you have to portray that commander. You can't be the person to be seen to be letting other people down. Was that what made it worse though? The fact that you had to sort of keep it together. Yes, I mean that's that. I mean because you can't let it go. It's all in all the time on top of you. And there are quiet moments where you take yourself to one side and sort yourself out, but you can't do it because you're back into it. Literally hours later, minutes later, days later, and so the actual stress and pressure that just being in the forces adds on to that. It is trauma in itself.
What happened then when you came back home and you tried to sort of get back into normal life?
Well, there was lots of circumstances. I was away from my own parent unit. There was, obviously lots of press involved and everything else. But my family were up north, so I then had to, wait a couple of days. I was at home and back in the UK, and then I had to travel up north. And you then, in order to go back into a normal, I was in a training establishment, which is training soldiers to become soldiers, and so there's no comparison. You're literally 1 minute, fighting in the streets of Iraq, and then within 2 or 3 days later you're shopping in Tesco's. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult, and so. The core values, you try and hold the core values together in the British Forces, you know, courage, discipline, respect, integrity, loyalty. But one of the ones is selfless commitment. And that selfless commitment, you soldier first.
Yeah.
And that I really struggled, because all of a sudden I couldn't be the soldier anymore, let alone the father, the husband, the brother, the son, you know, but the soldier. And that is, you know, and then all of a sudden, because there was the depression was kicking in, and then there was anger issues, and then there was self-medication, getting drunk, and trying to deal with that, and then all of a sudden you have a normal family instant, your kid spilling a glass of water or whatever, and I just went, absolutely exploded. Wow. And it was just a struggle just to try and hold that in. So at home I was a horrible man, but at work I wore the military mask, and you're conflicted, you know, you can't mix the two, and you always want to be that soldier, and then all of a sudden that just fell over because I wasn't working well at all.
What was the worst moment for you, Mark?
Well, the worst moment for me was the realisation that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be the soldier anymore, and that was it. And I thought, well, if I can't be that soldier anymore, then I may as well not be here. And
really?
So yeah, it was, and I thought, well, that's it, you know.
And what about your family, though?
Well, you don't think about the family. You know, I was thinking that, you know, they're better off without me. What's the point of me being here if I can't be?
Which of course you now know.
Like, I now know.
You know, that's a point actually I want to highlight, because people that are feeling suicidal, they always have this thought like, my family will be better off without me, I'm not adding to their life, I'm making things worse at home. They really think that, but it's not true. Your family want you around.
Of course they do, and you realise that. And you realise that.
But at the time, it's so like, it just makes sense, doesn't it, at the time? Like, it's better for me to go. I
always said that, and will do, you know, is the toughest thing that I've ever done was attempted suicide. Yeah. The toughest thing. It's not an easy way out at all. Not an easy way out. And to go through that process of, you know, this is it, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ending my life, whichever way, you know, you decide to do it. But, you know, tough decision, very, very tough.
And what happened after that? So you attempted suicide. Did someone find you?
Well, but luckily, my unfortunately ex-wife was medically trained, and she helped me get through that process. She called my father, and my father turned up, and then it was literally, right, Mark, you need to do something. You need to sort something out. But then again, that's the military. You know, again, just that. Walk into the medical centre, and go and see the doctor and say, I just tried to kill myself. But very, very quickly, the system took over. You know, we have the Department of Mental Health within the Armed Forces. They then interviewed me, and within 12 hours, I was in a military hospital, the mental health wing. And there I was for 8 weeks. But it took, in my mind, sort of 3 or 4 weeks of actual steadying treatment, you know, getting me off of the drink, sleeping properly, eating properly, socialising properly, anger issues.
What was going through your mind when you were going through all of this?
I just wanted to, you know, unfortunately with post-traumatic stress disorder, you don't wear a bandage, you know, you walk down the street, everybody sees a 6'4" bloke, but not knowing what's going on inside. You know, that proverbial swan on the surface and paddling like buggery underneath. And so I was trying to make sense of what was going through it. I mean, I was going at 1,000 miles an hour, you know, all the time. You couldn't sleep, you know. And then it just came out. It just came out. I was on a run. I was, you know, a lot of service personnel use fitness as a means of recovery or just training. And I was with a nurse, poor her, she was running after me. But I just came around the corner and there was just a flashback and I just fell over. Really? And it just came flooding out. It was, you know, an absolute in tatters. And they had to call, you know, an ambulance to come and pick me up because I just couldn't move. And that was it. And I just sat down and they said, Mark, you've got severe post-traumatic stress disorder.
The fact that now there was a name to it, that they said, okay, this is what you have. Did that make it any easier to start to deal with it, or it still didn't make sense to you at the time?
No, there's a lot of learning through the treatment that I have, and I'm still having treatment with the London Veterans Service. Yeah. And it's an understanding. Why does this, it's a brain injury, so why has my brain decided to do this? And it's understanding how the memories are not stored, or how it affects you, because I mean, I can smell it, I can taste it, I can see it, and it will never ever go away, but what it does is that you learn to react to why all of a sudden, jump out my skin or something like that, and I use the factors of, that I realise I'm in a safe environment, I take 5, I assess what's going on, and then I'll reflect on why that's happened, and then maybe I can change that.
So you know how to deal with it now?
Yeah, and that's what, and it's taken, since my diagnosis, 2005, to actually, to get this far.
Mark, tell us now about Hero Handyman, because you've done something amazing, haven't you?
Well, yes.
How it's helped you as well.
Well, how it's helped me is the fact is that, I was placed in recovery with Help for Heroes. And Help for Heroes listen, it's all about you as an individual. You're not a sergeant major or whatever, or in the army or the navy or whatever. And so what they did is they work on you as an individual and guide you through the journey. So I then went through Pathfinder program, which is for veterans. I was then introduced to just working for myself. The girlfriend said, decorate the bathroom. And so I did that. And then it just snowballed into a business. And how that came about was doing a talk for Help for Heroes. And they said, yes, let's do it. And I said, well, how do I do that? And they introduced me to ex-forces, Red and Kapoor, absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And then through ex-forces, then led on to the Building Heroes, which is a charity that supports veterans into the construction industry.
That's amazing.
And it just took off. Yeah. Absolutely took off. And it's all recommendations and word of mouth, and one job's led to 5 jobs led to.
You've got a lovely smile on your face when you're talking about this. So it's obviously something that you're loving to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's recovery. 3 places on this planet where I am not in Iraq or Ireland or in the army. The golf course, the sport industry. Talking about my PTSD and recovery. Yeah. And also working, because it's well-being. Seeing the smile on somebody's face when they turn around and go, you're a hero. But there's 2 sides to me. The fact is that I am ex-veteran. I've served my country. In the eyes of the general public, I'm a hero. Yeah. And when I do something in somebody's property, and they're like, oh, you're a hero. And that's lovely. It. So the hero in your home.
That's lovely. Mark, just if there's someone watching now that has been through something traumatic, not necessarily being a soldier or something else, but they've been through some trauma, what advice would you give to them?
Well, first of all is that it probably won't be you that spot what's going on, it'll be somebody else. And so actually having somebody come up to you and go, you're all right. And if you think, oh, I'm fine. And if that is then hard for you to actually put your hand up, the hardest thing is to put your hand up and just go and seek some advice, some help from the doctor. That's the best thing. If you're not sleeping at night, or it's flashbacks, or intrusive memories, or anything that and so just go and seek professional help. It's confidential, and there's so many services out there which can help. But if you don't ask, you don't get, unfortunately.
Definitely. Mark, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I'm sure it's helped many people.
I hope so too.
And all the best with Hero Handyman and all your talks that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely amazing.
Brilliant.
All right, guys, so don't go away, because after the break, I'm going to be joined by nutritionist Severine Menem, who'll be telling me about some important nutrition that can actually help people that have suffered from trauma. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the TV program dedicated to mental health, well-being and success. So we just heard from Army veteran Mark Taylor on the devastating impact that PTSD had on him, but also how he managed to deal with it and set up his own successful business. So there are many sides to the recovery process, and I'm joined now by nutritionist Severine Menem, who's going to be telling me about the vital role that nutrition can play in overcoming trauma. Hello, Severine.
Hi, Chrissy.
Lovely to have you back on the show. Now, you are going to be putting a recipe together for us in just a moment, but I just want to ask you, how might maybe suffering from trauma actually affect a person's diet in the first place?
Usually what we tend to see is there are two reactions to trauma. There are some people who just stop eating. They don't feel like eating, they have problem digesting, so they'd rather not have anything.
Yeah.
Or on the other hand, they eat to comfort themselves, so it's more comfort eating, and they eat usually not the right type of food. Okay. So in the end, it's about the same conclusion, because they don't get the right nutrients from either not eating or not eating the right thing.
So can nutrition be an actual therapy then, nutritional therapy?
Yes, I think nutritional therapy has a place, because why trauma and stress has to do with the mind, the body is affected, so you need to give as much help as to the body as you can.
Okay,
so
all right then. So how can nutritional therapy actually help someone that maybe is going through something like PTSD?
Well, when affected with PTSD, you have a tremendous amount of stress and trauma, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're only thinking of what the person is going through their head, but it actually, after a while, it affects the body.
Yeah.
And excessive stress can become adrenal fatigue, and then affect other bodily function.
Okay.
When you're hormonal, and you can have problem with thyroid or other type of problems. So if you give the right nutrition, then the body will be able to function itself, and you just have, not just have, but you have to deal with the mind.
Okay. And for someone that is going through something like PTSD, are there any sort of particular foods that they should be eating that will actually help them along?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you deal with stress, there are a number of nutrients that are essential.
Okay.
I would say vitamin C is one of them.
Yeah.
So vitamin C is mainly the citrus fruits, so lemon, lime, oranges, kiwi, strawberries, and bell pepper, actually.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's part of the family. We've got magnesium, so magnesium dark chocolate.
Okay.
Dark chocolate,
dark
not
chocolate.
the milk chocolate or the white chocolate, because it's
Okay.
mainly sugar, then you're going to put on weight, not the right
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
And you've got the green leafy vegetables, so
Okay.
kale, spinach. Usually people don't tend to like it, but you have to make an effort and find a way to cook it the way you like it, and then it's very
Okay.
easy.
All right.
You've got avocado, almonds, pumpkin seeds, a lot of them. Omega-3 fatty acids. You've probably heard of that.
Yes, yeah.
The omega-3 is like big thing at the moment,
Yeah.
and there are lots of research showing that it really helps with mental health and
Okay.
PTSD. So you can the best way to get omega-3 is with the smash fish.
Okay.
So it's not actually a fish, it's initial for salmon, mackerel, anchovy, sardines and herrings.
Okay.
And most people do eat salmon, but the problem is salmon may have a lot of heavy metals. So it's best to concentrate on having the smaller one.
Okay, that's a really good point.
And again, it's not easy. Most people never try sardines, for example.
Yeah,
but after
yeah.
a while, you get used to it, and it's nice.
Okay.
So if you could have 3 portions a week, that would be great. Like one can be salmon, and then you try and you
Okay.
rotate with the other one.
Okay. Really good points there, Severine.
And just last one thing, the B vitamins are very good. And it's mainly, there are a lot of B vitamins, so it's fruits, vegetables, and meats, and fish, and all the good food is.
So Severine, now we're going to make something which is particularly good for people that are going through some kind of stress or trauma. Can you tell us what we'll be making?
Absolutely. We're going to make a salad with a lot of magnesium and vitamin C. As we've seen, they're very good for people with stress and trauma.
Okay.
So, the main ingredient is buckwheat. Have you ever cooked buckwheat?
I
or
use
used it?
buckwheat flour to make crepes, but
Okay.
I've never seen it in this form, actually.
So that's how it starts.
Okay.
It's dry, and then you cook it in boiling water, so it's very easy. You just put that in you would put about 150 grams in 2 cups of water,
Okay.
make it to boil, and then you turn down to simmering for about 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, that's very quick.
And then it becomes like that.
Okay.
Do you want to try?
Shall I try a little bit now?
Yeah. What do you think?
Doesn't really taste of anything, does it?
Yes. Unfortunately, it doesn't. But that's a good thing.
Yeah, slight taste, but not like... Okay, so you're adding that to the bowl.
So
That's
yes,
the
we're adding it to the bowl. And then we're going to add some olive oil.
Okay.
And you can also add some salt and pepper. It depends how you like it. I don't really like a lot of salt and pepper, so I'll just add everything because there is a lot of flavor here, and then I will add at the end. So we're finished with that. Then we're going to use carrots, very high in vitamin A and a bit of vitamin C.
Okay.
I'm a bit clumsy. I'm careful.
She's got a posh peeler.
Yes, and it's...
I never saw one of those before. It actually does. I've only got the normal one that just does like...
So the idea is to have 2 carrots. Oh, it's a salad for 2 to 4 people. Depends, if it's a main meal or just a starter.
Okay.
So
now we have some spaghetti made of carrots.
I want you to cut them in 2.
Okay.
Oops, like that. Maybe add a little bit more.
It's made it very colourful already.
Yes, color is always good with vegetables.
Should I mix it up a little bit?
Yes, we need to mix it up.
Okay, can do that. Alrighty. And what's the next ingredient?
The next ingredient is the oranges because
Okay.
it's got some juice, so it will add more flavor. So we already have the oranges.
You're going to add them in like segmented already?
Yes,
All right,
I was
then
going
have
to
cut
cut them.
up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cut them up, sorry. So maybe just in half.
Okay.
Like that.
Smelling lovely already.
Yes,
Isn't
I
it?
love the smell of oranges. So oranges are very high in vitamin C.
Okay.
As
Which
we
is what
know.
you mentioned earlier, isn't it?
Which is what I mentioned
Try and have as
earlier.
much
Yes.
vitamin C as possible, yeah.
Exactly.
Can you have too much vitamin C?
No, because it's a water-soluble vitamin, which means that the body only stores a little bit and everything is flushed out in the urine.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's okay.
Oh,
You
that's
can go
interesting.
crazy on the
Yeah, you don't have to
vitamin
go-
C.
Alrighty.
But it's high in sugar, so that's
Okay.
a bit,
So not too much.
not too much.
Okay.
And then we would add the herbs.
Right.
So
Got quite a variety here.
yes, we've got, maybe I can show the camera, we've got flat parsley, we've got dill, and we've got mint, and they have a very distinct flavor, and
Yeah.
I just love them all.
Okay.
Parsley is really high in vitamin C, actually,
As
which
well.
is not really well known enough advertised.
Okay.
So-
Do you want me to cut that up for you?
Yes,
Can do.
if
Let me,
you
I don't know how to use this thing.
Me neither,
right?
but-
all right. So let's just use a normal knife. Okay. And then what about the dill and the
the dill I'm just going to
add in? Yeah. And what's dill good for? Is it just for flavour or is it for
just
anything?
for flavor, yeah.
Okay then.
I mean, they're good for many things, but here it's just for flavor.
Okay then. Smelling nice.
Yes. Do you want to do the mint as
Yeah.
well?
Shall I cut it in little?
Yes, because every time you cut, you release
Okay.
the oil.
And mint is good for what, Severine?
Mint is good for because it relaxes.
Lovely.
It helps with the digestion and it's a relaxant.
Okay.
So
Smelling amazing.
yes, oh, it smells summer.
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming. Well, let's get
coming, yeah.
spring first.
And
then...
finally, you add the pomegranate, very high in
Okay.
vitamin C again.
Okay. And adds lovely colour to the salad
Yes.
as well, doesn't it?
And you get a very colorful salad and very flavorful. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're going to
Plate it up.
use
Obviously, presentation is very important.
Yes, I think
I'll
we
let
have
you do it,
to-
Severine, so I don't mess it up for you.
Okay, thank you.
And would you have this on its own, or?
I would,
something-
but for someone who's not used to quinoa, probably is to start as a starter and then maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah, that was portion for 2 actually.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
I could easily eat this on my own.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, I have huge salads at home. I'm a bit
Yes.
too.
It's a very balanced meal,
Yeah.
very healthy, and you shouldn't be hungry for at least 3 to 4 hours after that. So
You shouldn't be, really?
no,
Fills
you
up.
shouldn't. Yes, because it's high in protein and in fiber.
Okay. That looks amazing. Shall I taste it, Severine?
Yes, if you want to.
Okay. I've only got 1 spoon here, so.
Okay, that's
And we're not trying not to get the carrot. I want a bit of dill. Where's the mint? Okay. Crunchy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I love the flavours, yeah.
Yes. Surprisingly, very flavorful.
I don't normally put mint in these kind of salads, and normally with beans and stuff like that. That really works well with the
Yeah.
pomegranate as well.
Yeah, it's great to try different things.
Yeah, lovely. Severine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've given some great advice as usual. Well, after the break, I'll be showing you a video courtesy of the Mental Health channel on how virtual reality can help veterans with PTSD. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everybody. So now it's time to show a video courtesy of the Mental Health channel on how virtual reality is actually used to help people with PTSD.
When virtual reality first came into the public consciousness in the early to mid-90s, psychologists were starting to think, this might be a great tool for exposure therapy. A number of folks started to put people in simulations of what they were afraid of, people with specific phobias, and all of a sudden they'd find that it was easier to confront their fears in the real world after confronting them in the virtual world. Fear of heights, fear of flying. When we came about the idea of trying to develop a virtual Iraq, virtual Afghanistan scenario, it came about really from the naive impression that we could translate a video game into a clinical tool very easily. It was a good thing I was naive, because if I knew how much work was going to be involved, I might have steered away from it. One of my grad students who's actually going to Iraq, he took our system over there and actually had boots on the ground, putting on the headset, saying, you need this, you need that. So when our funding came in, we had a whole laundry list from people that were in Iraq that were telling us, firsthand experience, what would be needed to make it credible.
It was early morning, pre-dawn, so it's pretty dark.
Something like that?
Yeah, perfect.
Are there clouds in the sky?
Yeah.
The key with exposure therapy is it's not passive. They're encouraged to narrate their difficult experiences. Meanwhile, the clinician has a control panel. The clinician tries to emulate the elements that the patient is narrating.
I got some helicopters coming down here off to my left flank.
We can do that for just about any sensory element that you could imagine. We can even control the smell. We want people to be engaged in their trauma memory.
After we pushed through Nasiriyah, we had got bogged down pretty well. And as you got out, there are more and more fuller pieces of the vehicles, fuller pieces of the bodies. And I first noticed a bus driver. Coming up alongside the guy, I have him on my scope, I'm checking out the driver. Looks like there might be some movement coming along the back of the vehicle. So looking down, I just see nothing but legs and just torsos. See my driver, he has no legs, just his lower entrails are all bubbling. As I go to look away, I remember looking back and then seeing movement come up on scope, and I see him, and I swear I see his finger move, like he's like, don't shoot. And right before I shoot him, I lose sight of him, I can't see him anymore. And then we go a little bit further, I hear a pop, somebody that one of the back trucks dumps him. And so that's pretty much what I remember of that guy, so that's my drive through Nasiriyah.
You went 10 years before you could describe that day in the session. What was it that pulled that out of you?
It was actually just the seeing everything, because I didn't do anything for a long time. Just all the different range of emotions, what you feel when you see that, and that's another human being that he's completely gone. So it's a little difficult, and that's part of the therapy brought that back. And it's just like one of those, something that I remember completely sharply, but I never, for 10 years, I never talked about.
You know, basically by having somebody confront their fear and learning that it no longer poses a threat, eventually they become more comfortable. You're helping people confront rather than avoid, and then they find out that threat doesn't exist anymore.
It's those layers that the virtual reality kind of peels back. Like I said, having that visor on in a weird way is like a protective helmet. Like nobody could interfere in your own little space, and you could talk about it.
Every now and then, the issue comes up. Oh, well, you're going to put somebody back in the world that caused them all that pain. Aren't you worried about re-traumatizing them? This has always been an issue that people bring up about exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy has really been one of the more effective categories of treatment, certainly more so than medications. It's less like going to see a therapist, and I think that makes it easier for some to participate.
We have advances in the technology. The graphics are getting better, the control interfaces are better. I think we have the perfect climate to look at how these applications may benefit people clinically. Aside from PTSD, for cognitive training after a brain injury or a stroke, physical training, we're not going to virtualize every form of treatment, but we're going to look very carefully at what works in the real world with traditional forms of treatment, and how can we make it better with this technology.
Well, thanks very much to the Mental Health channel for that video. And if you'd like to know more about them, please do head over to our contributors section on our website, chrissybshow.tv. Well, now it's time to give you an idea of something different to do, all of course with the aim of improving our mental health and well-being. So traveling to a new place can be the perfect opportunity to rest and relax, as well as giving you the chance to explore new cities and cultures. It can also keep you fit and has been proven to improve brain health and decrease the risk of heart disease. So let's see how Pax Brown got on when he visited Bristol.
Hey! How you doing, mate?
I'm good. It's been a while, eh?
Yeah, oh my god. How was your trip?
It was good, it was good.
Good, brilliant. Do you wanna have a peek around Bristol?
Yeah, show us around.
Yeah, brilliant.
Let's go. So this looks like a fire station, but not really. What is it?
Well, it was a fire station, but it got repurposed. And Bristol's got a really good attitude to sort of taking old buildings and literally injecting life into them. And they've got a really good, there's a bunch of youth projects. I mean, the city generally is really good at sort of taking young artists and going, let's find an empty space and bring it back to life. So
wow,
really
amazing. It looks beautiful from the outside as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the graffiti around here is actually weirdly artistic.
It's amazing. So it's a very historic town, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we're reaching right now one of the oldest markets in the city.
Oldest markets? How long has it been here for?
Well, at least the 1600s. If you're a historical junkie, this is the place to come.
Brilliant. Shall we have a look?
Yeah, go on then.
Let's go. Oh, so this is the famous
Landau de Trau.
Landau de Trau. I've heard a lot about this pub.
Yeah, you will have done. Now, this is kind of this is quite a fun spot if you're a bit of a literary nerd. It's a good place if you want to come for just a quiet pint, or if you're, writing your best-selling novel. The vibes here are quite good for that.
So this is a very old pub, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It dates back to the early 1600s.
Wow.
So yeah, no, it's definitely one of the sort of landmarks of the city in terms of its both its literary significance and people just constantly coming to relax. I love this spot. It's quite possible Daniel Defoe sat right here thinking about Robinson Crusoe.
That's right.
Kind of makes you want to start scribbling, doesn't it?
How's it going? Right, so behind us we have the Bristol Old Vic, which is a must for anyone visiting Bristol, isn't it?
Oh, completely. No, it's one of the longest running, continuously running, that is, theatres in the country. In fact, the oldest, longest running theatre in the country. Bristol's it's a massive student town.
Yes. Very lively, kind of sort of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's really good.
I know it's the birthplace of a lot of music genres like dubstep and drum bass. Was born here. Yeah, that's what I know.
Wow, I'm ashamed to say I hadn't heard that. That's so cool.
So we're standing outside the Hatchet Inn right now, right?
We are indeed, yeah. And this is one of the city's oldest pubs, as you can see, established in 1606. And it's quite famous because it was one of the major stomping grounds of a guy called Edward Teach, whom you might know better as Blackbeard.
The pirates,
oh yeah,
Blackbeard.
No, legitimate pirate. This guy was a businessman. He did it all. A fun little anecdote, if you will. The what's known as the pirate voice, that kind of thing that people pick up from, like in Pirates of the Caribbean or Jeffrey Rush members all the time. That's actually allegedly it's an adaptation of the Bristol West Country accent. So
Somerset sort of accent.
Right, exactly. So if you put a farmer out in the open water, suddenly you throw in the R, and that's where that sort of pirate voice comes from. And
how fascinating!
Yeah, it's really quite
crazy.
Cool.
So behind us, we've got the main cathedral of the city.
Yeah, Bristol Cathedral.
And obviously it's a cathedral that constitutes whether it's something is a city or not.
It's the major mark for a city, yeah. It was one of the old sort of, I suppose, it's one of the major things on the checklist. To consider an area a city, you had to have like a major point of worship. So yeah, there's a lot of pride surrounding this spot, definitely.
That was all we had time for today, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very true. But it's a huge city, and if you were keen to come, then there is a ton more. Obviously, it's very artistic, but if you're of a more scientific sort of persuasion, then there's the SS Great Britain, built by Brunel, obviously one of the biggest engineers in the country. And then there's at Bristol, which is the major science hub. The university itself has a really strong engineering program, so it's really, the city's a big mix of stuff.
Then obviously you've got the aquarium, there's lots of museums to visit.
Oh, a ton, yeah. And it's all within roughly 20 minutes walking distance from wherever you are, which is very nice.
And I'm sure you can do also some really nice tours, organised tours with blue badge guides, and you can see the city's graffitis, such as the obviously super famous Banksy.
Always, yeah.
You know, there's plenty of that, so there's really stuff for everyone in the city, isn't there?
Absolutely, and it's affordable, most of it, which is fantastic and a consideration for a lot of people.
This is a really affordable city. It's great for a day out. It's great to spend the weekend as well.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend it.
Easy access to Bath as well. 12 minutes on the train.
Easy access to Bath, which unfortunately we didn't have the time to see today, but would have been great. And also Cardiff, I think, is pretty accessible, right?
Very close to
So great hub, great place to spend the weekend, great place for a romantic weekend or just spend time with your friends. So yeah, check it out, guys.
Absolutely. See you soon.
So thank you very much, Pax, for that tour. So guys, we have reached the end of today's program, but if you have a story that you would like to share, please do get in touch with us. As I always say, it's your program too. You can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. And if you'd like to know more about me and how I beat depression and panic attacks and anxiety and all sorts of mental health issues, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Till next time, bye-bye for now. We'll also be seeing how Pax Brown got on when he visited Bristol, and we have a video courtesy of the Mental Health Channel who's... No, sorry, can I do that bit again? Now, it's important to note at this point that PTSD doesn't affect every veteran. Stupid. After the break, in 1 second, I'm so sorry, hang on a minute. It's pomegranate, it's hard to chew, 1 minute.